Okay. So Susannah Freeman is our speaker tonight. She began her training in natural medicine in her teens with the study of nutrition. After receiving a bachelor's degree with honors in environmental studies, that was interesting, she taught ecology in the national parks. She continued her study of nutrition, massage therapy, yoga, and meditation. In 1994, she completed a master's degree in acupuncture and oriental medicine from the Oregon College of Oriental Medicine. And she has been nationally certified and state licensed acupuncturist for 25 years. Each year deepening her knowledge and experience with continuing education and clinical experience. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and speak to us, and I'm excited about learning more about this. Thank you.
So we have a mix of caregivers, clinicians, and people with concussions here, so I'm going to speak to all of you. And what I'm planning on talking about today is really about brain health and well-being, whether you're head injured or not, so you can all tune in. And what I want to do is talk about the whole big picture of brain health and what it takes to heal the brain from the point of view of the body, because in East Asian medicine we don't separate the two, and as you all know, you can't really get to the brain. It's not like if you injured your bicep muscle you can massage it or stick an acupuncture needle in it, right? So it always has to be indirect. So we wind up doing lots of global systemic work with nutrition, with herbs, with acupuncture to influence the brain and the nervous system and the whole neurosystem, and so then that becomes a whole health approach. So that's really what I want to focus on today. And the other thing is, I was listening back. I love the Concussion Resource Center, and I love that you keep all these talks and you work so hard to record them so that we can go back and listen. So I was going back to 2020 to listen to my own talk, and I realized there's so much really relevant, perfect information for you about acupuncture and the mechanics of acupuncture in a head injury, and why would you use it and how does it work. So what I want you to do is to go back to October of 2020, and it's on, no, it's not on the handout, it's right here. October 2020, just scroll back in the CRC website and you'll find it. And that's gonna give you a lot of really nice information about acupuncture. So today what I wanna do is round that out with the whole concept of herbal medicine and nutrition and the vagus nerve and all the neurochemicals in the body that play into the brain and healing the brain, okay? So it's a larger system of medicine that we use. So I was trained in acupuncture and traditional Chinese medicine, but my training in nutrition and herbal medicine really spans, and my acupuncture training spans across Japan and India and all over the West, and so it's really not just traditional Chinese medicine, it's really much a broader system. So some of the herbs that we'll be either mentioning or I might be using in somebody with a head injury might be from India, or they might be from the West, or so it's a little more global. All right. One thing I just wanted to mention, because we're recording this, if you do have specific questions, save them towards the end, and then keep in mind that if you want to chat with me about your particular individual case and what you think, your concerns or your priorities, or if you have questions, then you can always reach out to me, and I'm happy to do a consultation with you sometime next week or so. Okay? All right. So save those questions. I gave you pens and paper because you're going to be doing some exercises while you're here. All right? In terms of thinking about what is your priority. So what I want you to remember is that everybody with a head injury has a unique presentation. There's no one, there's obviously lots of patterns, lots of lots of guidelines that we can use, there's protocols that we can use, but everybody at the end of the day is going to have their own focus and their own priority, and it's going to be a step-by-step process of whether or not you're right in the middle of acute symptoms, or you've had a setback, or whether it's a more chronic thing and you're trying to get to the next level. So we take a whole health approach and we individualize your needs, and it's really, really important to remember that it's easy to get overwhelmed. Kathy and I were talking about this the other day. Like people with head injuries, you know, a screen is difficult, attention is difficult, sleep is difficult, you might be in pain, you might have nausea when you try to eat well. So all these things, you need to choose for you, what is the priority right now? So that's what we're gonna be doing today. As I go through this talk, I want you to be thinking about, what do I need? Or if you're a caregiver, what does my person need now? Not what they need 6 months from now, what do they need right now? Maybe you could go 2 steps ahead, but not, you know, if you're at all prone towards overwhelm, be careful about not trying to put too much on your plate at any one time. And that's one of the things we work with our patients is how to prioritize and say, okay, well this is important, but maybe this is step 4, 5, or 6, what's step 1? So that you can really make sure that you're improving and progressing and not just getting overloaded and overwhelmed and not doing anything. Sound familiar? Okay, all right. So let's just go through, these are some of my favorite things that help heal a concussion, and I know you can't read that from here. It's partly just to keep me on track, and then you'll see some other diagrams that you can see, because probably from the back where you can't see, all right? So the main thing I want you to remember is that our bodies know how to heal and repair. They just do. You need to give them the right materials, and you need to give them nutrition and rest and movement in appropriate doses. So sleep and rest are huge in recovery with a head injury or concussion of any sort. And so is movement and posture, and having that circulatory system into the brain working well. Balanced brain chemistry, we're going to be talking a lot about. These are neurotransmitters. Can you raise your hand? Do you know what a neurotransmitter is? Is that some? All right, we've got a well-educated group here. So we're going to be talking about neurotransmitters. We're going to be talking about the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, in particular the vagus nerve. And we want all of the hormones that interrelate with the body, the neurochemicals. So the hormones in particular, we're going to be talking about cortisols, epinephrine, norepinephrine, and also the insulin as it relates to cortisol. So if your blood sugar's off, your cortisols are going to spike, and then your head's a hot mess. You ever felt that? Like that hangry or high blood pressure when people feel really irritable and kind of fuzzy and shaky. So either too high blood pressure or too low blood pressure can make you feel uncomfortable and not be able to focus. So that's one of the key things that we need to take care of in recovering from a concussion, is making sure our blood sugar is nice and stable and our cortisols are really well regulated. That's a huge piece of what I do for people, okay? And remember, the acupuncture piece is a separate conversation. It's related, but it's a separate way to talk about how to take care of yourself. Today I'm talking more about nutrition and herbs and mindset and lifestyle, okay? One of the things I really want you to understand is neurotransmitters are these chemicals that are produced inside the brain. But in order to make them and regulate them, you have to have your gut working well. So the raw materials you need for these neurotransmitters are coming from the gut. So you have to have digestion in place in order for your brain to be able to improve. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes as well. And mindset and mood, as you know, are huge. And this is a big piece of that whole health approach that we use in concussion. And I always like to remind people that patients, that, you know, that old adage, like time heals, it can be really annoying to hear that. But it's also really important to remember that patience for the process and allowing your body to heal, that if you're in a hurry, it's not going to work as well. So you have to be focused on what's my next step. What's my next step? So like climbing a big mountain, right? If you just run the whole way, you're going to get out of breath and burn out. And if you find a steady pace, you're much more likely to get there and enjoy it along the way. So being in a flow state, I know that's also cliche, but it really, really helps. And there's some very specific, I'm not going to go into it today, but the flow state is a certain brain activation. It's a certain brain state. I bet some people here in the room know all about the flow state and the different beta waves and theta waves and all this, right? You know what I'm talking about? So there are ways that we can activate those, but I'm not going to talk about that here, but I will say that that's one of the things we do in the acupuncture clinic, and some of the things that we do with people individually. There's a term that comes from the Buddhist traditional teachings called equanimity. And equanimity is this sense of, it's a mindset that allows the acceptance of things as they truly are in the moment. And that can be really difficult if you're feeling injured or sick or stressed or overwhelmed or fatigued. It's easy to push back against it and hate it and get really frustrated. And what I want to say to you is to always, always be patient and graceful with yourself. And to one of my favorite teachers, Temple Smith, who comes to here to town every year, he has this one little sentence that you can just remember and carry around with you. May I accept myself just as I am in this moment. And if you can do that, no matter where you are on that spectrum of, I'm doing great, accept that, enjoy it. I'm really frustrated, I'm in pain, I can't eat, I can't think, my head hurts, I can't, these lights are bothering me, would you please stop talking, like whatever. Can you just accept the moment, knowing that it's not forever, and that when you are in a state of acceptance, then you're more able to make a positive decision about what is in your best interest for your self-care and your healing progress. Does that help a little bit? So, may I accept myself just as I am in this moment, and feel free to use that in any way you like. That's from Temple Smith. So, that parasympathetic nervous system is what happens when we're in a state of relaxation and either sleep or rest. And you could even be in parasympathetic going around your day if you're fairly relaxed. That's when you digest your food, that's when you repair your brain, is when you're in a state of the parasympathetic dominance in the nervous system. The opposite of that is the sympathetic nervous system, and that's the classic fight, flight, freeze response. And that is when all the blood is rushing to your head, to your eyes, to your fingers, to your feet, so you can run away from the classic saber-toothed tiger that's chasing you down in the jungle, right? So these days we have a different version of a saber-toothed tiger, and it's the news, and it's traffic, and it's a head injury, and it's whatever challenge you're dealing with in your life. So it's important that we use that sympathetic nervous system when we need it, and then we drop back into parasympathetic, into rest and repair as much as possible, and we go back and forth. And if that's not working, that's when you need to be patient. May I accept myself as I am in this moment, and ask for some help and obviously since you're here, you ask for help. So the ability to allow others to help give you what you need so that you can repair your brain. Okay? So right now, if this has triggered anything for you about something that you might need to be doing differently in your life, or somebody who you know with a head injury what is their next step? Go ahead and write down anywhere on that piece of paper, what is one thing that I can be doing differently to improve my health in the next 24 hours? And just write that down if you have something. And you're not getting tested or graded on this, I want you to just think about how can I improve my health based on what we're just talking about. And just write that down. It can be one word, it can be drawing, it can be a happy face. I just want you to use this for you. So, we talked about neurotransmitters. I want to get into the weeds a little bit with these. So, there are lots of neurotransmitters, but these are 4 that are super important in our day-to-day sense of well-being and focus, and that sense of when can I focus and when can I rest. So dopamine is this really important neurotransmitter that, imagine your body is like a car, and you're driving your car, and the dopamine is like the gas. So it's the power for the brain. And that's your get up and go, your drive, your motivation. You wake up in the morning, you're like, yeah, let's go, I got this, all right? And lots of people need that, and one of the things we make sure all of our patients have is plenty of B-complex vitamins, and especially vitamin B12, because it helps build dopamine. So acetylcholine is what you need around about midday. That's the accelerator for the car. It's your speed. That's when you're like, okay, I'm at work, here we go, let's roll. And that's when you're gonna wanna be in a state of focus, right? When you really wanna be productive. And you're gonna wanna be able to go back and forth through all these. GABA is that winding down, it's the brakes on your car. It's like, all right, let's put on the brakes. And or the rhythm of the brain, right? So it's just the steady state. And the reason why people love sedatives and alcohol and weed is because it promotes GABA in the brain. So let's also find other ways besides recreational drugs to support those GABA pathways, because they're super, super important for us to be able to turn it down at the end of the day, or even throughout the day, just a little bit here and there, taking little breaks throughout the day and slowing that down. And there's very specific nutritional things that you can do to build GABA. So there's nutrition, there's herbs, and there's minerals that you can do for those. And come see me afterwards if you're interested in those, because we do this pretty regularly. Serotonin, I think you all know serotonin, that's the well-being chemical. It's like the alternator in the car, the sort of activator or the recharger, and we all need serotonin. It's also really famous for being something that responds well to B vitamins. You need B vitamins for serotonin as well. And the classic example that we've all heard is that sort of sleepy, tired, sedated feeling you get after Thanksgiving dinner when you ate a bunch of turkey, because turkey is high in tryptophan, which is an amino acid that helps build serotonin. So once again, there's vitamins, especially B vitamins, there's herbs and minerals and amino acids that all feed into each one of these neurotransmitters, and you have to have digestion in place to be able to pull those in and absorb them and then make them in your brain, okay? Just briefly, if you're working with us in the clinic, we're gonna go over these very specific priorities for you. What do you need? What's working? What's not working for you? And how can we help you? And we're gonna use a very collaborative and integrative approach. We're gonna use things like I talked about. What is the nutritional gap that you need in your body? What is the, do you need to go work with a speech therapist or a physical therapist, or, what else do you need to round out your overall healing progress, and in what priority, so that you're not overwhelmed. So we talk about, I'm just gonna go through this really briefly. In my brain, how I work with a patient is I think about test, treat, teach. What are the assessments that I need? And I might be borrowing them from one of you guys, right? Your assessments. I might be using labs. I might be using my own clinical diagnosis, which in Asian medicine is a very detailed physical assessment of the body. So that in addition to labs, we have lots of diagnostic tools that we use to get to, okay, what vitamins and minerals do you need in order to repair your concussions? Very specific, okay? Treatment is acupuncture, herbal medicine, and nutritional supplements. For example, maybe you need some tryptophan, maybe you need some St. John's wort, maybe you need a specific herb, maybe you need some vitamin B12, maybe I need to test you first to see if your B12 is low, and then give you B12 if that's what's needed. And then we're gonna use teaching, like, okay, here's how you get B12 in your diet. Here's how you do this on your own. Here's what we want you to think about in terms of diet and lifestyle nutrition, so that you can build these neurotransmitters in your brain on your own throughout the day. Okay, so we're going to use herbs, nutrition, and acupuncture, and as much as possible, we're going to teach you how to be independent so you can get out there and do it. Okay. Can you think about right now, do you have a priority in your world for whether you need more testing, more treatment, or more teaching? And if so, if you know, have one word for like what you think you might need next, write it down. And again, this isn't for me, this is for you. And again, I don't want to take too much time on this. I want to make sure we have time for questions. But please be thinking about the 5 pillars of health as you think about a concussion and how to repair. So those pillars in my mind and how I work is pillar 1 is digestion and detoxification. And you might be thinking, well, my problem is here, why do I need to think about my digestion? So we'll get into that in a second. Pillar 2 is functional nutrition. Pillar 3 is hormonal and metabolic health. These all sound really complicated, but we break them down for the person. Pillar 4 is rest and movement, and Pillar 5 is brain health and well-being. So maybe you're asking, well, wait a second, I came here for Pillar 5 and you put it last. That's because we're treating the brain every step of the way. And whatever's left over by the time you've adjusted the gut, adjusted nutrition, adjusted hormones, adjusted rest and sleep and movement, usually the brain gets better when you do those things. Would you all agree? It's kind of like, just like we all have a felt sense of that. When your body, when your overall health is in good shape, your brain generally works better and your mood is better. So, and then there's very specific things we can do for the brain. Okay, so Pillar 4 and 5 is where you want to wind up, but pillars 1, 2, 3 is how you get there. So, digestion and detoxification, this is primarily the gut and the liver. So really want you to think about, you need to absorb, you need to put these foods into your body, right? And maybe that means having somebody go grocery shopping for you so they're even in the house. And then cooking, right, so that you can actually eat the right foods. And then letting go of what you don't need or what is no longer necessary. Maybe it's a red blood cell, maybe it's some old estrogen, maybe it's a toxin from a beer you had last night, maybe it's inflammation. Then you need to, frankly, poop that out, right? And it's the liver that helps us process everything to allow it to be sent to the gut for elimination. Now, obviously, elimination happens all over the body, in the skin, and the urine. It happens everywhere. But the liver and the gut are the two primary big engines of detoxification and elimination, okay? So we talked a little bit about neurotransmitters already, and that whole B complex and B12. I just want you to remember that, like, you need your gut to be absorbing well in order to make that dopamine and serotonin and acetylcholine and GABA in your brain. All right, so it's got to start in the gut, and then it goes to the brain. Okay. And the liver we talked about already. That's processing everything. And in Chinese medicine, we talk about the liver as processing emotions. And so if somebody has and we don't mean the liver organ in this case, it's more of a metaphorical function of the liver system. If somebody has a lot of emotion and a lot of stress, we treat the liver system. And it helps them smooth out their mood, their focus, their energy. So it sounds a little wacky. How can the liver system be involved with emotional regulation and mood? And yet it's a thing. And when we don't mean the liver organ itself, but the broader view of the liver. So you can ask me more about that later if you like. Here's some little things I want to just buzz through and see if there's anything on this list you know you can just kind of do right away. First thing in the morning, you wake up, you're making some tea or coffee, probably boiling some water. Get a little bit of sea salt, a little pinch of it, put it in the bottom of a glass, add a quarter cup of hot water, and then cold water to make it nice and lukewarm, add a little bit of fresh lemon juice, and that is going to jumpstart your hydration. The sodium is going to feed your adrenal glands, these glands right here in the small of your back that help to support the production of cortisols and a whole bunch of other chemicals that manage stress. And so the sodium and the water are going to help wake you up, going to help jumpstart that hydration for the day. B complex, we've talked about a lot already. Take that in the morning because that's when you want that dopamine on board. Vitamin D is a vitamin, but it acts much like a hormone. It's super important for brain function and healing and immune system. So it's an energy. It's a really important vitamin to have on board, and make sure you have plenty of it. And protein, I can't say enough about protein. I don't want you to go crazy with it, but I want you to have some at every meal, whether it's plant-based or animal, whatever you digest. Whatever works for you is what's important in terms of what you're actually eating in your macros. And we work with people quite a bit on macros and finding the right combination of proteins, fats, and carbohydrates so that your blood sugar is nice and stable. Please be careful with sugar. sugar will spike your mood, spike your inflammation, and make your brain not work. Y'all know that? I mean, it's hard to stay away from it, but if you can find a way to, if you're craving sugar, I want you to drink a glass of water. I want you to have a little bit of lean protein, because you're probably just plain old thirsty and hungry when you're craving sugar. Try it. And then if you still want some sugar, go ahead and eat it, enjoy it. You'll probably eat less because you're already satiated. So maybe that's the one thing that you needed to hear. Minerals are really important. We tend to want you to have minerals every day in your foods and then supplement as you need it. Magnesium is the one that people really need for their brains that it's hard to get enough of in food. So we often have people take a magnesium supplement and at night, and it helps support their sleep and calm down that nervous system overnight. It's a super nice, easy mineral. We have one in particular that we like. It's called magnesium threonate. It's specific to the nervous system. Water and electrolytes, please drink that all day long. Make sure you're hydrated. It's a huge piece of the puzzle for stress management. TRE, the time-restricted eating, that's another word for intermittent fasting. We want you to be fasting overnight and not snacking late at night. Fasting overnight somewhere around, if possible, 10, 12, 14 hours. Don't go crazy on that. If you have a thyroid issue or are very stressed and you need to eat more often, do so. Try not to eat sugar late at night. Try to skip that dessert. It will really help you feel better the next day. If you need that blood sugar steadiness through the night because you're waking up, you could try eating some avocado or a handful of nuts, but try to stay away from the sugar. If you're gonna eat sugar, eat it during the day instead of at night, and you will feel better, okay? So, once again, make a little note. What's the one thing you need to do, right? What's the one thing you just heard that's relevant for you or for the people you work with? We've talked quite a bit about hormones already, so I just want to reiterate blood sugar. The primary hormone is insulin, produced in the pancreas. We want you to have a nice, steady insulin response with your food because, I don't know about you, but if I have high blood sugar, my brain doesn't work very well and I get stressed really easily. Similarly, if it's low, I feel tired and spacey. Okay, so regular meals, time-restricted eating, we can chat more about that in your case if you need it. The right nutrition to just make sure that your blood sugar is as steady Eddie as you can get, and that will help your brain. The mineral chromium is food for the pancreas. So we talked about sodium being for the adrenals, and then chromium is for the pancreas. So it's one of the ways that you can get that mineral in. I don't want you to go crazy with it, just a little bit every day to help balance out the insulin and the pancreas health. Another trick for managing insulin sensitivity is to get some gentle exercise after you eat. So just a 10-minute walk, just moving your body, doing some yoga, not vigorous. I've been doing a little test of my own body lately, and I'm doing some like jumping jacks and high intensity stuff before I eat, just like 10 minutes, and then it starves the muscles from the sugar, right? It starves the muscles and makes them want that sugar. And then when I eat a meal, then my blood sugar comes down because it's the blood sugar is going straight from the blood into the muscles, but like a reservoir. Does that make sense? I don't know if I explained that very well. So I don't want you to do high intensity exercise. If you have a head injury, you might not want to do it at all. But if you're somebody who's pretty well recovered and you're looking for another way to get exercise in and manage your blood sugar and feel better, try doing 10 minutes of high intensity before you eat, or a couple hours after, but don't do it right after you eat because it doesn't feel good, right? Okay, so the key here is that to regulate stress, to regulate blood sugar, we have to listen to our bodies. And you have to be willing to use your tolerance to make sure it's like, okay, should I be exercising intensively or not right now? Am I tired? If I'm tired, maybe I'll go for a walk or go to the iRest class. or go to take a nap. Or maybe what I need to do is push it a little bit. And being able to listen to your body about what is appropriate in that moment is actually really, really, really important. And if that's hard for you to do, I want you to reach out to the people in your world, in your life, who love you, who can help you understand what to do when. Okay? And I promise you that will help. So, again, if anything there stands out at you as something that would be important for you to remember, go ahead and just write down a little picture, a little drawing, a little one word. Pillar 4, rest and movement. We call it the yin and the yang of healing a concussion. So remember, pillars 1, 2, 3 are help us get to this healthy rest and movement. A lot of the Concussion Resource Center talks are based on rest and movement. So build on everything that you're learning here in this whole series, this whole education series. Exercise to your tolerance, make it individualized. If you're super acute, then intensity and spinning and fast movement probably isn't going to feel very good. And the slower, quieter forms of exercise are going to be better. Remember that your sympathetic nervous system, that fight, flight, freeze, is the one that responds well to more intensive exercise. If you're feeling stressed, push it a little bit with cardiovascular exercise, if you can, without hurting yourself. And that's going to bring down your stress response, bring down your blood sugar, just bring you back into a state of calm. However, if you're super tired and that's not feeling good, then I want you to do something more moderate. Go for a walk, take a nap. I want you to listen to that balance of sleep and rest versus movement, and be willing to know what you need in the moment and ask for help if you're not sure. Okay? Does that help at all? You guys with me? Okay, good. So ask yourself right now, what's one thing that I can be doing differently that will help improve my sleep and rest? Because in concussions, this is such an important piece. And I'm happy to help in an individual way with people on this one, but it changes by the day and by the person so much that it's hard to give general rules, except that we need that ability to have gears on our bike, right? So it's like, okay, it's time for granny gear low, let's go, we got this, and we're just gonna push, push, push. And then we're like, okay, enough push, it's time to rest. And being able to go back and forth between parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system is super, super important. Okay? Pillar 5 is my favorite, not just because I'm talking to you guys. So in traditional Chinese medicine, that's TCM, traditional Chinese medicine, the kidney system is so interesting. So we talked a little bit about the liver system that regulates function in the body. It regulates emotion and digestion and hormones. It's the factory that processes everything. That's the liver system. The kidney system it includes the adrenal glands that produce the cortisols and the epinephrine and the estrogen, testosterone, and progesterone, and all the mineral corticoids, and it helps to regulate blood pressure. So this is the kidney and the adrenals are a huge piece in Western biomedical world for regulating the brain and the heart rate. And in Chinese medicine, it's the same thing. So the brain is actually a part of the kidney system. And it sounds a little odd because we think of this organ down here in the small of our back that processes water and minerals, but the central nervous system and the brain and the spine and the skeletal system are all part of the kidney system. Super interesting. And so our lifeline of hormones, the estrogens, testosterone, and progesterone, and DHEA, and cortisols, and our stress response, those are all functions of the kidney system. And so when I'm treating somebody with a concussion, that's the system I'm thinking about. If somebody has excitatory pathways that are too heavily facilitated in the brain, and they're having anxiety and overwhelm and insomnia, I'm treating the kidney system. It's very interesting, super fun. So, and then we're going to use herbs and nutrition to help guide that person into proper sleep and proper energy during the day. So that whole circadian rhythm is very much a kidney system function of wake up with the sun and go and get sleepy as the sun goes down. So again, we don't want to support the whole body in order to repair the brain. And I think we pretty much went over that. But one of the things that I haven't really touched on yet is mindset. And I know, again, it's a really important topic in this whole education series that we're doing here. So when I work with somebody, in addition to the acupuncture, the herbs, the nutrition, and the lifestyle guidance, I'm also going to be making sure that they have some sort of practice that they're doing at home, that you're doing at home that's meditation. It might be drawing, it might be music, it might be going to the iRest and the Yoga Nidra courses and doing some of those on your own. We also have this app that we can give you on your phone. It actually costs money, sorry, but it's something that you have on your phone, and it's based in neuroscience, and it's these guided images and visualizations that you listen to. You just put your headphones on and listen to it, or put it in the room as you're going for a walk or cooking dinner or focused at work at some point. And it's a beautiful way to reframe the internal dialogue in your brain and put a positive spin on those words that are coming into your brain, whether you like them or not. So instead of saying like, wow, this is too hard, I can't do this, whatever, whatever it is that you say to yourself, we're going to replace those words with something more positive. Like, in the past, I dealt with overwhelm, and from now on, I take small steps to understand what's the next best thing for me to do in my healing. That's just one teeny little example, right? Just building confidence and building trust in yourself in any way, and it's just this handy little thing you put in your ears and you listen to it, and there's this voice talking to you saying, maybe you could try thinking about it this way. And it's actually a really, really nice app that people have. It takes 10 or 15 minutes a day. So that's the Innercise app. It's actually on our website. I'll tell you about that later. So once again, what's something I can do right now? And the reason why I keep coming back to this is because of the tendency to overwhelm in our larger world and in our bodies. It's really easy to feel like you have so much that you need to do that we get a little bit immobilized sometimes. I don't know about you, but I know I can. And so just smalling it down, like Nancy, I know that when you worked with your physical therapy, it's just like, okay, what's the one exercise you're gonna do, right? And I'm not sure what the speech therapy version, but you give people exercises, right? So this one thing, what's one thing we can do? What's one thing, right? And those start to build. And before you know it, you're better, okay? So the resources that I wanna share with you are, once again, the acupuncture specific talk on the Concussion Resource Center website, crc.org, concussionresourcecenter.org. And then the acupuncture talk is October 2020. And our website that has a lot of these resources that I've talked about is www.guidetowellness.com, and that's on your handouts as well. The Innercise app, if you're interested, give us a call. You can also just check it out on our website. It's on the shop page, and we have a little link to the Innercise folks. And there is a lot of neuroscience behind that app and why they're saying what they're saying to you in these visualizations. It's not just, it's actually based on scientific principles of how the brain works and how the brain retrains. The podcast that we do at our clinic is called Guide to Wellness, and there's 2 very specific episodes I want you to take note of, and I'd love you to listen to. One is from March of 2024, and it's called The Science of Serenity, and it's on the vagus nerve and the very specific technique called VU, and you're vibrating the vagus nerve whenever you're stressed, whenever you're just feeling elevated into anxiety or some emotional state. You just go ooh. It's more complicated than that, but not much, honestly. And so we talk you through it on this podcast episode. So please go to the Guide to Wellness podcast and listen and learn about how to regulate the vagus nerve. And that's just one. We talk about a bunch of different tips and tricks to regulate that vagus nerve. So I'd love you to listen and share it around with whoever needs it. The other one is a breathing exercise, and that's from November of 2023, and it's called Inhale, Exhale, Thrive. We're probably going to do another breathing episode soon, but that's the one right now. And it's, again, really good. It's full of talking about breathing and the importance of exhaling, and it has a couple exercises for you to do to learn how to take care of yourself with breath and how to reduce your stress and build your energy with breath. And our acupuncture clinic is called Great Turning Healing Center, and it's right across town at the corner of Kagi and Wilson. We'd love to see you there. And the herbal medicine and functional nutrition side of our clinic is what was called Guide to Wellness. So there's a website for each one, but honestly, the clinic is the same, and the phone number is the same. It's 406-599-0088. So that's what I had to say, and let me get back there. I hope that was helpful. I hope you all have got some little things that you can do, got some priorities, got a sense of how our whole body, when our body is working well, it helps our brain heal. So I know the injury is up in the brain, but because we can't get to the brain directly, we can get to the body more easily in the body chemistry and the neurology, and influence it with what we eat, how we breathe, how we sleep, and how we talk to ourselves. And that is, in my experience, the way to heal the brain injury. So yeah.
Questions, Carly?
So, if you have insomnia, what mineral or herb do you recommend to take?
Magnesium is number 1.
Oh,
And
why
calcium.
magnesium? Just
3 and 8 is the one that works the best for calming the nervous system.
3 and 8.
3 and 8 is THREONATE. You can give me a call, and I can recommend one that we like to use in our clinic.
So she was asking about if you could repeat the question.
I'm sorry.
If you could just repeat what she.
Oh,
the
I'm
question.
sorry.
No, just for the recording.
Magnesium 3 and 8 is there's lots of different forms. Magnesium can be a little tricky because it can have a laxative effect, but the 3 and 8 form is less of a laxative effect and more of a central nervous system calming. So it's a really nice mineral that you can take. Also eat things like chard and dark green leafy vegetables because they're rich in magnesium as well. We also try to give people the food remedy as well as the supplement.
And that was to treat insomnia? Is that what she used?
That's where I would start. Calcium is always good too. Traditional Chinese medicine have been using calcium forever and ever and ever to anchor our emotions. So that's, if I just had to like say 1 or 2 things about which minerals, it would be those. Yeah. Any other questions? Yes.
What are your thoughts on the electrolytes and the element stuff?
The elementy?
Yeah, and that dose and they're flavored often, and I know a lot of people that.
So there's lots of different types of electrolytes on the market.
Yeah.
And you're right, the LMNT company is my favorite, but some people don't like the, I think it's stevia that they're putting in there, so some people are a little sensitive to that. So ultimately, if you can do it with electrolytes, fresh fruits and vegetables, and adding salt to your food, and sea salt because it has the trace minerals, rather than the table salt that is more refined. So you're actually getting more nutrition from sea salt. If you have unregulated and high blood pressure and your doctor's told you to be on a low salt diet, or some people with ear inflammation, ear disorders, and Meniere's need to be on a low salt diet, right? So if you have a medical reason why you should be low salt, that's different. But for most of us, sea salt you can put on your food, you can put it in a little bit of water, is a beautiful way to build that sodium in particular. Potassium, the best way, do you guys know the best way to get potassium into it's avocados. It's not bananas. So bananas are high in sugar, and they're not actually that high in potassium. So avocados are, the dark green leafy vegetables, of course, spinach, mushrooms, white beans, I think cantaloupe is high in potassium, and you can do a Google search for this, but it's a kind of an unusual list, so get those into your food, that's the best way. The LMNT I really do like, but we've just had a couple of people lately say they don't really like the sugar content in it, so do be careful. I know Costco sells a bunch of other, I forget the brand, there's a really popular one, but they can be high in sugar. One of the ones that's been on the market forever is that Emergency. It's Emergency with a capital C, and those tend to be low sugar. And you put them in just like a whole, liter of water and just drink that down. It'll be really nice. Make sure you get the potassium-rich one. Okay. If you get too much potassium, you can get an elevated heart rate. So don't go too crazy with that. Just like one electrolyte replacement a day. I've had some patients who eat a high potassium diet and then they also do the electrolytes and they wind up getting heart palpitations. So you gotta find the sweet spot with this stuff. Don't go crazy with it. All right, does that help a little bit?
Yeah, and is it best to do those in the morning, or is that a kind of
I
depending
think
on
so,
your
or sometime
activity?
through the day. Yeah, they're pretty fast acting.
Okay.
And I really want you all to be hydrated. And electrolytes are one way that A, it jumpstarts your thirst, and B, it builds your energy. I've just had so many times in my life when I've been out hiking and running around and I'm dehydrated and I'm just dragging, and then I have an electrolyte replacement in a glass of, a liter of water, and I'm off and running. So it's pretty cool how quick that can bring your energy up. So yeah, do it during the day. And then you don't have to get up and pee at night, right? Good questions. Any others?
So I think I've heard of trace electrolytes too. They're like just the drops. It's non-flavored. It's not.
Yeah, if you can get unflavored, that's the best.
Mm-hmm.
But it is important to know your nutrient status, and some of them have iodine if you have a thyroid issue. This is why it's hard to give broad generalizations with nutrition. If too much iodine can elevate the thyroid function, and that's not a good idea. That said, if you're low thyroid, then iodine's a good thing, right? So finding the right blend for you and your body and your needs is what's key, and we can help you with that. But yes, in general, unsweetened, sort of a middle of the road, not too crazy with those electrolytes. And amino acids, like there's some really nice protein powders out there that are just a really good way to just boost your protein if you're not feeling like a whole meal, to just get that in first thing in the morning. A little protein shake can be super, super helpful. Yep.
So your kidneys are the most important organ.
Oh, how do I choose? If you're talking about your brain, yeah. But remember, I'm not talking about the kidney organ, I'm talking about the kidney organ system that includes central nervous system, brain, adrenals, and kidney, and the skeletal system, the spine. So how do you pull out one system, one organ, and say it's the most important? I don't know, I kind of want to say the heart's the most important. But for the purposes of talking about healing a concussion, the system that I think of that I need to heal is the function of the brain that includes all of those chemicals that we talked about and all of those pathways in the brain that are influenced by the body. That's what I'm treating. And then the inflammation in the brain, I can't really with acupuncture I can certainly address that to some extent, but really what I want to do is allow all those pathways to normalize and repair and activate the body's repair system. So even though my target is the kidney system and the brain, I'm getting to it through the rest of the body and the whole body. We really didn't talk about the lungs or the heart much, but those are also involved. Does that help at all? I'm not sure I can say the kidney's the most important.
I have to step out, but I just wanted to say thank you. This
You're
was
very welcome.
really helpful. Yeah. I read a lot of notes, so
Good.
thank you.
Call me back next week if you have any more questions
Yeah,
and want to
sounds
sit down
good.
and chat. That goes for all of you. Thank you.
I guess just one point is then you didn't talk about the acupuncture part of it because of the previous presentation.
Yeah.
But during that, you would be assessing kidney, the
absolutely.
different systems,
Oh,
and then figure out
absolutely.
where.
Oh,
So that's
absolutely.
part of it too.
But see, this is where I get a little stuck with doing a talk to the general public because how I would treat you with a concussion would be different than how I would
Right.
treat you or you, right? And so I am assessing each system in every person every time I see them.
Right.
And we have a very detailed diagnostic system for that. So we use the tongue and the pulse and we talk to our patients about what they're experiencing. And there's this whole system of abdominal diagnosis. And then you give somebody a treatment and then you go back and check. And like, okay, is that different? Is their pulse different, right? How are you since last treatment, right? And so we're constantly reassessing. And then when they go get labs with their doctor, then we pull that in. Okay, how's your nutrient status?
Great. Just
Right.
wanted to clarify that too. It's not just, just the assessment that you do is going to look at what system. So as far as saying that the kidney's the most important for that person, it may be something else.
Correct. Yeah, because maybe your kidney system is fine, your stress hormone pathways are doing well, but the blood sugar is off, or maybe it's a circulatory issue with muscles into the neck, and we need to treat more rest and movement. Or, do you see what I mean? Like, it really, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it keeps me on my toes every day.
I was going to do one other comment, but the eye rest is, when you talked about the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system, it is getting from that sympathetic and down into that parasympathetic, and that's why it's really beneficial. And then to learn some systems and ways you can do it yourself. And then Turi does provide some recordings of it, so you can do it on your own in between sessions as well. So it's another way to get that.
People to her course every time somebody comes in with a head injury. I refer them to you guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Reach out to me, seriously, if you want to talk, just reach out and just let, whoever answers the phone, let them know that you are here at my talk and you want to just set up a consultation.